My name is Stevie. I'm a grateful believer, recovered alcoholic, and member of the Golden Text Group of Hollywood, Florida. God bless you guys. That was powerful. Can I see those guys?
Yes, you can.
Tennessee, you lit it up.
Do I have your good eye?
He lit it up. He told the truth.
Miss Jackie's back there. In case you had any doubts,
Listen,
Miss Jackie's back
there. We're going to have some meeting in here. I was about to say have church in here, but I want anybody to have a nervous breakdown. But, the big book reminds us that it's incredible to see where religious people got it right. And when I first came in, people say all the time, well, if we heard that when we were in the beginning, we'd leave. I needed that in the beginning, and I didn't leave. When my sponsor, Russell, came in, and he wasn't my sponsor at the time, and remember, the guy that you see now, Russell's not the Russell that we met, 30 years ago. He's a different Russell. Still great Russell. He's on tonight, but I saw him at a time where I needed him to say the exact things he said that night, and he brought out a Bible, and he talked about Luke 10, the Good Samaritan. All the years, I never knew what the Good Samaritan was. I've been in AA for 7 years. They keep coming to the Good Samaritan. We have to act the Good Samaritan. 12-step, we have to act the Good Samaritan. I never knew. I'm like, yeah, it's the Good Samaritan, of course. People are like, you have to act. I'm like, of course you got to act the Good Samaritan. Don't you act the Good Samaritan? I had no idea what anybody was talking about. I was just playing, the same thing I always did in AA. Pretend I knew what I was talking about, and I didn't know anything. I had a God of my misunderstanding. And Russell brought out the Bible in an AA meeting. You know what? It turned out that kid that night on January 3rd, which is my sobriety day, that kid that day, when he was 34 years old, needed to hear what Russell said that night. God's not going to scare you out of the program. God's the answer to our problems today. There is one that has all power. That one is God. And you know what? I hope you find him now. And don't get afraid when someone comes up and talks about their God, and they specifically say their God's name, and that's what happened for them. Because it's an amazing thing. Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. I've been insane my entire life, doing insane things, acting insane. I'm not even talking about using. I want to talk about the previous 7 years. Is my mom still there?
Yep.
Well, I don't want to give too much information. But my previous 7 years before I relapsed, and I was 7 years in Alcoholics Anonymous, was pure insanity. And let me explain to you why. Sober is not the answer to my insanity. I want to say to you again, sober is not the answer to my insanity. I was sober for 12 years when I was 12. And I was doing some insane things. Those of you that weren't here last week, and I'm not going to continue to bring it up every week because people say you always talk about your eye too much, and I'm not going to. But I do want to tell you that I did give a kid a gun at 12 and told him to shoot at me, and I thought I would just move fast. And I lost. And I was 12 years sober at the time. So sober is not the answer to my insanity. God is the answer to my insanity. That's the only thing that has ever worked for me. And it's the only thing that is ever going to work for me. Because I have been wickedly wicked sober. I had those 12 years when I was 12. Okay. Then I had another 7 years where I was arrested 3 times sober. I had not even started being arrested till I got sober. That's crazy talk right there. And by all different agencies, the Department of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearm, that was one agency, and Hollywood Police was another agency, the Broward Sheriff's Department was another agency. These are unsober behaviors with physically sober body. So that's not the answer to my problem today. Came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore this to sanity. Some of us, like me and Gina, we come in here wacko. Okay, some of you guys just drank too much and you weren't even wacko. Like 3 of you. But a lot of us come in completely wacko, and alcohol was the thing that we used to make us less wacko. Like when I would take one drink, I was a much better person than I was before the one drink. I remember after having 7 years of sobriety, I'm going to tell you a quick story about insanity, real quick story. And it happened exactly like I'm saying. I'm not going to embellish or by the way, congratulations to the celebrants. I congratulate 18 years today. Congratulations to Tennessee. Congratulations to Melanie. Melanie, you are awesome. Awesome, Melanie. I knew you were going to be awesome last week, the way when you said something about being a superhero or something. Some of you cheered, and I said, she's going to be awesome. Rocky, yeah. But and this is and I'm not going to say but Melanie, but I want to say, and Melanie, please keep that enthusiasm one day at a time, because the enemy is going to try to steal it. Tennessee, I'm going to tell you something. The enemy's got a big bullseye on your back. Those that have been created to be able to tell the message in a gifted way have a huge bullseye on the back, and there's pitfalls all around, and alcoholism wants to take you back because it's the rapacious creditor that does not want you to tell your testimony. And you know what? The knowledge of my last drink and the knowledge of how hard the debauchery was and the knowledge of that will never keep me sober at 2 o'clock in the morning. People say, I was in the car with a great guy tonight, Bobby. He's like, just play the tape through backwards. If I could play the tape through backwards, I would only need one meeting. She said, just play the tape backwards. Sure, Bobby, that may work for you, but my tape changes in different languages at 2 o'clock in the morning. Different speeds and stuff. I'm like, you know, the Beatles, when you play that thing backwards, it says kill somebody. My tape goes crazy. My tape says, oh, you could drink to that. I've been trying to play the tape back my entire life. It has never worked. I need to have a power greater than myself that restores me to sanity, because I have insane behaviors and insane thinking. When I was 7 years sober, I decided to take a drink again because I did not think that alcohol, I don't even know where I got this, but I thought that alcohol was not my drug of choice, and I really did not consider alcohol a drug. Even though I'm an Alcoholics Anonymous, and now I know better, just tell you, I did not think it was going to be a big deal. I knew cocaine was a big deal because I would wind up in foreign places with foreign people in foreign bases at different times, and it was always cocaine related. And so after I had a length of time and I got married to a beautiful wife and had a house and cars and a business and all that kind of stuff, I thought that I would be able to drink like a gentleman. And I want you to know something. In my defense, I had never had a lot of bad drinking in the past. So now I got a first step that said I had a DUI or anything. I did drive drunk several times in high school, and I did have some drinking things, but nothing crazy. So I didn't have a great first step with alcohol. And so I took a drink, and it was not a big deal. I did do it with some narcotics, and I did pass out, but it was not, not the thing. And I went, and I wasn't able to get loaded in Hollywood, where I'm from, because my wife said, if you ever get drunk, you have to go back to AA. And I said, that's a deal. That's a good deal. Okay, I'm not going to get drunk, but once in a while I have like a Chianti or something. I'm Italian and also Jewish. I have some Manischewitz, one of those. So I didn't get drunk, but I had this plan. I had this other friend, Eddie, and he also had previously 7 years. And we said, why don't we meet up in Minneapolis where we got sober, and everybody will think we're going on a big sober vacation. We'll meet there. This is alcoholic thinking. It's kind of wacko thinking. So we planned an out-of-town sober event that was going to go around drinking. And so we both arrive in Minnesota, and we go to the bar. Now, my wife's here in Florida. She's not going to know that I'm going to get very drunk. This is going to be my first very drunk situation. Because I promised her if I ever got very drunk, I'd go back to AA. But I didn't want her to know that. So I go to the bar. I have never been in a bar since I was in college. Now I'm 33 years old. I've never been to a bar. And I said to the bartender comes over, Jerry knows the story. This is a definition of insanity. You never know what you're going to get with me when I drink. And I know some of you understand the same thing. Matter of fact, let me in the big book it says, But the ex-problem drinker who has found this solution, who is properly armed with the facts about himself, can generally win the entire confidence of another alcoholic in a few hours. Until such an understanding is reached, little or nothing can be accomplished. They're talking about when we finally have the information and we've been set free, like Bob Davis is set free. When you've been set free, you now have the inside information on how to win people over, because you could talk to them like no other. But I didn't believe I was one of you. For 7 years, I was kind of like incognito. I would say, my name is Stevie B. I'm a recovering alcoholic. I wouldn't even say recovery. I say, my name is Stevie. I'm an alcoholic. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking, I'm not really an alcoholic. But I like Alcoholics Anonymous. So in order to be with you people, I'm going to just use the word alcoholic. But I really knew I was a cocaine addict and didn't want to go to Cocaine Anonymous. So I came and hang out with you. But I never really fully admitted to my innermost self that I was an alcoholic. And I didn't think there was going to be any consequences when I flew to Minneapolis, because why? I didn't think I was powerless over alcohol. I knew I was powerless over my wife. She's from Colombia. She carries a machete, so I knew I had to leave town. And so I get to the bar and we order our first drinks, and the bartender comes over, and I only had experience ordering drinks from college, so I started ordering college drinks. I wasn't up in the current drink status. And so they comes over, hey, what would you like? I say, I'd like to get a fuzzy navel. That's what I remembered, fuzzy navel. I'm not even sure what that is to this day, but it sounded like a cool drink from the bar. And then the bartender came over, and then the guys in Minneapolis from the bar, from this area, they heard my accent. And they're like, you got an amazing accent. Where are you from? I go, from New York. And they go, what do you do? I'm an actor. And they go, do we know any stuff that you've been in? I go, have you ever seen Goodfellas? They're like, you know Joe Pesci? I said, of course I know Joe Pesci. They say, wait a minute, you know, I said, of course I do. You ever met Sly Stallone? Of course I know Sly Stallone. And I start talking, and everybody loves me. They're like coming over, oh my God, I recognize you from the movie. Big fan. I go, thank you. Buy that bartender, buy that guy a drink. Buy that guy, hey, as a matter of fact, you want some chicken fingers? Get some chicken fingers. And I'm the life of the party. Next guy comes, sex on the beach. Let's get some sex on the beaches. And we're drinking, having a great time. I'm telling them some movies I've been in, some of the actors I know. And it's going over great. They love my accent. Oh my God, I always wanted to meet an actor. I'm like, hey. And then I remembered that we used to order pictures of kamikazes when we were in college. And I said to they came over, they go, let's get a picture of kamikazes. And that's when it happened. I forgot why I stopped drinking. It's not important that I use the word alcoholic. I'm powerless over alcohol, and my life becomes unmanageable when I drink. I just don't know when it's going to happen. 3 drinks in and a picture of kamikazes, everybody that's around me, they want autographs. Now I'm saying to them, are you talking to me? Now, the other guy came out. I became hostile. The guy goes, yeah, I'm talking to you. You just bought his chicken for me. I go, you must play me a fool. I started getting crazy. Because it turns out, even though I didn't want to agree to it, it turns out I'm an alcoholic. I didn't want to agree to it. I didn't come sweetly reasonable. I never used that word and never felt like I was, but it turns out that when I use any substance that affects me from the neck up, I want to say that because they're inventing new substances and people say, well, can I do this? It's legal. Anything that affects me from the neck up that makes me unphysically sober is going to be a problem for a person with my disorder. They had to call the authorities to ask me to leave. And I threatened them on the way out. I was just talking to the guy, buying him drinks. Everything was fine. Drink 3 came on. I thought they were talking about me. I was ready to go with the whole bar. If you have that, you may have a problem. And so that's the page 52 we spoke about last week, the bedevilments. all the things that happen when we're drinking. But the next step is that we didn't go over. You don't know what the outcome is once you take a drink. Sometimes you're going to be happy. Sometimes you're going to be the life of the party. Sometimes you're going to wind up in other states. I went out to Publix one time during a dinner date with my wife and my friend Nikki and his wife. We were at dinner. I went out and there was a guy that I met at the Publix and he told me there was good stuff in Orlando. The whole family's waiting for me to come back. An hour later, my wife says, "Where are you?" I say, "I'm on 95 going to Orlando." And it seemed like a great idea at the time. The word insanity in this specific case talks about the insanity of drinking. But let's talk about the insanity of not working the steps when you're in a program of Alcoholics Anonymous and you're not getting better and you're getting drier. And like I was in my third year, my fourth year, my fifth year of my previous sobriety, I was getting drier and drier and drier. That's the insanity that can come back at any time, has nothing to do with drinking. It has to do with stinking thinking that can return at any time if the stinking thinking is between you and yourself. I need a power greater than myself to restore me to sanity. I heard this great speaker last week, this great pastor, and he came in. He's not even an alcoholic. It was a recovery event, and he wasn't even an alcoholic, but he totally got us. He totally got us because every single person that's a faith person in the planet knows that they're in recovery from something. And he came in and he said that we are prone to wander. Listen what he said. It was so awesome. I don't want to take credit for it. He said, we are prone to wander. I'm prone to wander. He said, when you look at a compass, and if you know anything about a compass, if you've been in the Army or the Boy Scouts or anything, or you know how to use a compass, as you travel along, you continue to look at the compass to make sure you're going in the right direction. And if you continue to look at the compass, you stay on course. Alcoholics Anonymous and God is our course. It's our compass. I know where I'm going to be on a Thursday night. I know where I'm going to be on a Sunday morning. I know where I'm going to be on a Wednesday night. I know where I'm going to be on a Monday night. And I know where I'm going to be on a Tuesday night. I go to 7 meetings a week, church and a Bible study. You might say, wow, that's extreme. I am extreme. I'm an extreme person. I need some extreme program. Okay, this is what works for me. Everybody is going to find their sweet spot. This is what works for me. I used to use for days on end. Drink for days on end. Someone say, I'm going to come over in the morning, we're going to get a little bit lit, and then we'd be still Indian style 3 days later. My knees are still having situations from 25 years ago. I'm still walking like this. What happened? Well, one time I stayed Indian style for 3 days. So for me to put 14 hours a week into Alcoholics Church and God, to put 14 hours is not a big deal. I was a full-time dedicated addict alcoholic. Full-time. I didn't do partial time. I didn't drink on a Sunday, drink on a Friday. I drank to get loaded all the time. And I want you to know, even when I use the word drink, I do it out of respect for Alcoholics Anonymous, but I'm an and/or, which means I did everything all the time. But alcohol was always involved somehow. And so that's the problem. We were living life in a bitter, we were going to go to a bitter end, but we can go to a bitter end sober, physically sober, if we're not spiritually sober. I hate to keep, bringing up Tennessee, but that kid to me reminds me of someone that's spiritually sober. I mean, it seems like he's on the right path. It seems like sanity has returned. When I first met Sheldon, he's not the same person that he is today. And if you don't know, and I'm not saying he was bad then, I'm saying he was different. And people still want to try to hold him in the same person he was 5 years ago. He's not the same person 5 years. Neither is Robert, neither am I. Robert reminds me all the time, I didn't like you when I met you. He tells me all the time. And I can understand why, because there's pieces of the paddles that each of us have, and if those paddles get out of order, mine is always going to start with pride. If the paddles get out of order, or it's not get out of order, if the paddles get out of control, you're not going to like one of those paddles, especially if you have the same paddle. And what I didn't like in Sheldon was his pride. Why? Because I could certainly identify with pride. So as soon as I saw him, like, this guy's prideful, coming in here with his muscle shirt and beep, 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 beep. Meanwhile, I was wearing the same muscle shirt. I just didn't like it. And when I say the word Pagels, and the reason I wasn't fond of Sheldon when I first met him, because I saw pride all over the place, because I had pride all over the place, and that's why Robert said I didn't like it when I met you. And I'm like, what do you mean? I've been a pastor, minister for years. He goes, yeah, with an ego. I'm like, okay. And he's right. He's right, because you never let the giftings that God has given you outshine who gave it to you. That's pride. And let me share what the Pagels are. Gina knows, you guys know, the Pagels is a nice acronym to remember how to remember the 7 deadly sins, which are the big ones. Pagels, P-A-G-G-E-L-L. So pride, which is always number 1 because it's the quickest way to fall. By the way, every person that you see that goes back to drinking after a long-term sobriety, most of the time it's because of pride. People say, well, I was acting out sexually. That's because of pride. I went back to gambling. That's because of pride. I was having fights with my family. That's because of pride. It's usually pride, the one that brings us back to the other 6 deadly sins. And those are not all the sins. Those are just the main categories. So pride, anger, greed, gluttony, envy, lust, and sloth. We call those the Pagels. Okay? Those are the 7 big ones. And sloth is is a fancy way for laziness. Not doing the steps. Being on your 4th step for 3 years. You're in total sloth. Okay, you have, or you did your 4th and 5th step, but you haven't done you didn't go on to the other steps, so that's slothful. Okay? Because you're really not doing everything that you can. All right? So we have to be very, very careful of those. So what happened to me in my first sobriety is that my defects of character took over the program and dictated to me what I was going to be doing or what I was not going to be doing. And if someone would give me feedback in my previous sobriety, that feedback was totally discounted because this defects of character had taken over my belief system. So I would immediately discount what you had to say. So you say, listen, hey, I think it would be good if you took a look at this. I would immediately discount you with the other defects of character. Immediately. And so I was not being able to be returned to sanity because insanity won. Now, I hear this a lot from a lot of different people in the program. People get to a place in their program where they either grow or they go. But go doesn't always mean gets loaded. Go sometimes means gets crazy, gets suicidal, leaves AA, becomes self-obsessed, working out becomes more important than their program. They're not sponsoring anybody. They're not giving back. They don't have a home group. The defect of character of self returns. And what happens if that happens? You're either going to grow or you're going to go. And that doesn't always mean get loaded. You see, for me, it was easy to see when the defects of character won because I got loaded. But it may be harder in your life because you're not getting loaded. But maybe apathy, maybe laziness has creeped into your program. Maybe you're here tonight. It's a Thursday. It's the first meeting you went to this week. That's the beginning of a creeping apathy program. It means it's the beginning of having something where that's not the fullest of what you can be. And I have to be very, very careful because I'm basically lazy. Given my own self, without God running it, without me being repositioned back to God with the God compass. I don't know if I ever finished that story for the pastor. He said we're easily distractible. We're prone to wander. And that's why we need a God compass. I don't know if I finished that, but that's what he said. It was very simple. I loved it. I stayed awake for it. It was awesome because I'm prone to wander. And here's the crazy thing about it. There was a Value Jet. I don't raise your hand if you remember Value. Value Jet was a plane, right, Cubby, that landed in the Fort Lauderdale Everglades and everyone died. And the reason that a lot of you not heard about it because the company's done, over. When they played back the black box, nobody on the plane knew that they were going to die. Everything sounded fine. You know why? Because they thought they were going in the right direction and they thought their instrument panel was working and they thought everything was fine. You constantly meet people that relapsed, their life went down the toilet, or they didn't relapse, but they have been divorced like another time, and you say, well, what happened? Well, she was a jerk. She's talking about the wife, or he's talking about, they were controlling. You know what? A lot of times the compass is off, and we don't know, because we're prone to wander. We're prone to wander. We don't have the God, the GPS, the God positioning service, God positioning signal, God positioning service, God position, whatever. We're not being positioned by God. We're being positioned by our own earthly character defects. Watch TV for any length of time. You guys live in Boca. You totally get it. I mean, I love Boca, but it's a defect of character city that, I mean, no disrespect. I love coming here, but I feel inadequate every time I do. And we have to be careful. We have to be careful because God wants to have an intervention like he did in Tennessee's life, like he did in Sheldon's life. God wants to do an intervention in our lives, being restored to sanity. If he was the same person that he was 5 years ago, I would say to yourself, I feel sorry for you. If you're the same person 10 years from your last, I feel sorry. We have to be constantly growing. Listen, we get to be constantly growing. I know this is not a super funny talk and you came here for the show and all that kind of stuff, but this is important. This is not a show tonight. I want you to hear something. People are dying for lack of knowledge, or people are perishing. They're dying because no one's telling them the truth. The truth is, the reason they're dying is because some of the meetings have got watered down and some of the program has got watered down. And if it wasn't for these men and these women in here telling us the truth, we wouldn't even know the truth. We would think Alcoholics Anonymous is about not drinking. And Alcoholics Anonymous is not about not drinking. Not drinking is the byproduct of a relationship with God. I don't even know the last time I thought about drinking. I'm not saying it could happen tonight, but I have a whole program in place, something that is rock solid, not impenetrable, but rock solid. I have a support system of people that I call immediately that's on my first call. I have people that are in my immediate group, iron sharpening iron, that let me know when I'm off. If I don't have that, then I could be listening to self. Myself told me that it was okay to drink something from a bathtub from a guy named Julio that made products from Vinny's place, Home Depot, and I thought it was fine and an unmarked job. That's myself. So I need to have a God positioning system. That's what the word was, system. GPS, God positioning system, because I'm prone to wander. I'm prone to, I don't know if you ever seen the National Geographic, the little videos where there's the little, like an antelope or like and he's prone to wander. That little animal, and he's eating the little grass, and the whole herd is going this way, and the little one goes, and I was like, God, he gets the whole hind quarter gets eaten in 1 second. Because he was prone to wander. He's like, let me just go lay a little leaf over here. I see the whole tribe is going this way, but I'm going to get a little leaf. It should be fine. And then everyone feels bad when a crocodile has its whole hind quarter in its mouth because he was prone to wander. There was a guy in our car tonight. I'm not going to say what it was. He was telling me about, don't say it, don't shout it out. He was telling me about an app. You know, one of these apps for not dating, but it's like for quick dating. They're like at 1 hour dating. I had never heard of it. Okay, God's honest truth. I'm 25 years married, 26 years married. I never heard about the app, but I was thinking to myself, man, thank God I am married. Thank God I don't remember the name of the app. Thank God I did not know there was an app for this type of behavior. And then the other side of me said, what was the name of that app? I got that going on all the time. I'm offended and excited going on at all time. And I didn't say that when he said it in the car. I acted indignant. I was like, that's terrible. That's terrible. What's the name of that? Because I just want to condemn that. Only God can reposition me. Because myself, I'm not a repositioning tool for myself. I'm prone to wander. A simple suggestion had me in the car for 20 seconds, prone to wander. A simple looking the wrong way at the wrong time, I'm prone to wander. In the gym, I don't know if you go to the gym, that is a prone to wander situation. It's everything in the gym is designed for us to wander. A machine that goes in and out like this, in and out. Always in the front of the gym when you walk in. It's never in the back in a private room. It's the first machine you see. To me, that's a design for a distraction. The yes-no machine. I have to keep my eyes focused on God. God will restore me to sanity. He's the only one that can. And 2 weeks from now in the new year, or 3 weeks from now in the new year, we'll talk about step 3 on how to do that. God bless you guys. Happy New Year.